Mike Shope is on vacation. We'll be away all of next week as well. I am the Bulldog. Sal Capaccio is live at Highmark Stadium for this evening's return of the blue and red practice. Is it practice, scrimmage? What is it actually called, Sal? It's not called a scrimmage, is it?
It is not, and I know people call it that, and that's fine. I'm kind of I'm a little bit, I don't know, I guess a little bit too strict on that myself.
Yep.
Because when I think of scrimmage, I'm like, you're coming to a place to watch like an offense and a defense or two teams battle each other, and there's scoreboard keeping. That's a scrimmage to me. Right? Like, that's not. Now, they might have a scrimmage period here, but it is really an open practice. And when you brought up, like, earlier, going back to the days of the Sabres open practices, right? Those were great because they do some scrimmaging. They do a little bit of, against each other. That's not what a scrimmage is. That's not what this is. This is an open practice. Will they go offense and defense live? Yes. They're not going to take each other down to the ground. But it'll be more upthought. It'll be, to me, the best way to describe it is they're going to have a practice like they do at St. John Fisher, but they're going to do it here. They just might have a little bit more of the live stuff, offense against defense, than they normally do.
Yeah. So it is the final year of the stadium, and this is the first event of the final year at the stadium. Say what you will. There's a preseason game next Saturday, but this is the first time in the stadium for the season for a lot of people. And it could be, as I said at the very outset of our show today, Sal, it might be the last time in the stadium for some people that are going, whether it's just maybe they're from out of town and they're here, in the summer visiting and they can't make it to home games or can't afford it, whatever. So I was thinking a lot about the stadium today as we got going, and I know we already talked about and debated a little bit about the best games and the very top of the list and some memorable moments. What I wanted to ask you here, if you're okay with it, now you said this is season 12 now on the sidelines for you?
Yes, it'll be season 12. Right. Yeah,
so
incredibly.
What are the what do you have, like, in your for your own self, like what the moments are for you? Because your perspective, I know when we talk during the week, once the season starts, there will be times where there are plays that happen, and I'll want to know where you were for it, right? Because, like, what was your perspective on, say, the Amari Cooper lateral to Josh Allen last year? I think was one that I talked about. But, like, for you, what are the top of the heap moments that you've been on the sidelines for?
So there are a few that come to mind right away, and I would tell you that when you think of where I would be for a lot of these, I'm on the Bills sideline, obviously, or I could be in the end zone. Sometimes I'm there, but generally for a play like that, like you just described, Josh Allen, the lateral, that's in the far end of the end zone. That's the far side. That's the Niners sideline. That's the visitor's sideline. So I don't have as good a perspective. A lot of times the things that happen are when I have the perspective of it being kind of right in front of me, right? And that brings into what happened the very first year I was on the sidelines, and a couple iconic pictures of me looking right at Sammy Watkins' feet as he was toe tapping 2 feet in front of me for a touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Yeah, to win it, right? That was pretty cool, and you could see me looking right at his feet in that moment. And of course, that's when the Bills were in a playoff drought and they weren't as good as they are now. And since then, there's been a lot of great moments with the Bills when they've been really good, and some of the things that have mattered. And I think one of the first ones that comes to mind, believe it or not, is something that I was not on the field for, and that is Taron Johnson's pick six.
I was in
the stands,
right,
because we could not be on the field as part of the COVID protocols. There were 6,500 people in the stands, Bulldog, something like that, right?
Yep.
And I was one of them, and a lot of us in the media, we had to be in the stands in a certain area, but I could roam the stands, but I had to be up in them, and they called it the moat. So I am right near the goal line, but I'm about maybe 10 rows up in the stands watching. He catches that ball, and as he's running out, I'm kind of trailing, and I start running down the aisle, right? Because there's nobody there, because I have this kind of thing to myself. And I've always said this, that you always hear people say about things going in slow motion. You're like, yeah, whatever. It's just kind of a saying.
Uh-huh.
And I will tell you, for the first time in my life, and still only time maybe I remember to think about, it was like things happening in slow motion in my life. I was watching him run while I was watching the stands and the fans and people go crazy up and down. And it was unbelievable, the picturesque scene of that from my spot where I was.
Yeah, that is That almost, listen, it's still, disappointing, sad, whatever, that more people weren't in the stadium for such an incredible moment in such an important game, right? This is the first year of the Bills really arriving as a bona fide contender, right? They'd lost the wild card game the season before in Houston, and so it's just becoming real, right? But I feel like for those who were there and like for you, that it's so different makes it stand out more, probably. Makes it more pronounced. I mean, you're one of the few that were there for it. That's one thing. But this scene you're describing would have never happened in a regular game, right?
No, that's right. That's right. Now, there's been other things that have happened. For example, the fight that happened between Leonard Fournette and Shaq Lawson, I literally got knocked into the wall, during the fight. And I hit the wall. I'm like, oh, my God, get out of here, right? Things like that happen. Right. One of the crazier, funnier things that ever happened was during the Miami Dolphins game here a few years ago at night. Remember the Saturday night game with the snow and people throwing the snowballs on the field, right? And referee Bill Vinovich wanted the fans to stop. He sees me with a microphone. He thinks I'm the PA announcer for the stadium. So he walks up to me and says, "Can you announce to these people to stop throwing snow?" And I said, "Sir, I'm not the announcer for the stadium. I'm on the radio right now." Right. And he's looking at me and he's looking at my mic like, "What are you talking about? You can't talk to these people. You have a microphone in your hand." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I have a couple great pictures that are still in my phone that I bring up every once in a while to show people of me explaining this to Bill Vinovich, and he has this super confused look on his face.
How in the world have I never? You haven't told me that story before, have you?
I don't think so. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Okay,
I hope not, because yes. I forgot it if you did, and that's a great story. I can't believe I would have forgotten that story.
It is amazing. It is one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me, in my life. I'm like, this NFL referee in this huge game on Saturday Night Football is telling me to please announce to the crowd to stop throwing snowballs. I'm like, "Sir, I can't do that. I have a microphone in my hand. I'm talking to the radio crowd."
He wants you to go Sam. He wants you to go Sam White.
Yes,
from
that's
Cleveland.
Exactly. Right. That's exactly right. So anyway, then the other thing is last year, final game here against the Baltimore Ravens, Mark Andrews drops the pass. Now, when he had it in his hands, I thought, "Oh, he's got this." For that split second, you thought he's got it, right? Mm-hmm. He drops the pass. I am the closest human on the planet to him when he drops the pass. Maybe there's a defender right behind him. I picked up the ball and handed it to the official.
Oh, wow.
I picked up that ball, Bulldog.
Wow.
Wait, I picked up that ball.
Yeah.
It's in my hand, and I'm thinking, holy cow, the Bills just won this game as I'm holding the ball and handing it to the official.
That is something. Did you have any? I know, you're a pro. You're on the sidelines. There's no cheering, right? Did you have to make sure to? Was it just instinct to pick the ball up, or did you have to contain your level of Was there a fist pump, even a subtle one, anything at all?
There's always that in some regard. There's always a frustration or a fist pump or something you're doing inside because you're part of the action. You're part of the moment. And anything that happens, right? When it's like there's a big play and it goes for the Bills, a big play against the Bills, you always have this emotion in some way that you always have to contain. You can't show that. You're going to get in trouble. That's not what you're there for. You're there to do the job. But, I mean, I'm part of it. I'm the adrenaline's pumping. Now, in that moment, that very brief moment of do I pick up the ball always happens because I picked up footballs before. Heck, Bulldog, another one is I literally caught a kickoff from Tyler Bass at the Rams, the opener, because he kicked it out of bounds, and it came to me, and I caught it. I caught it on the sidelines, right? Sometimes the ball just comes to you. You got to pick it up, or you got to do whatever. So in that moment, the ball's sitting at my feet, and for a brief moment, I'm like, do I touch it? And I'm like, yeah, of course, right? It's standing there, and I'm just going to hand it like I would normally. And that's when I picked it up and scooped it up. But it does also get me to not show emotion because I'm kind of just making sure I do that instead of anything else. I do think if you watch the game broadcast, and I don't think I realized I did it, I do think I gave a no good sign, incomplete sign, very briefly when it happened.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I think that's just kind of natural. A lot of people do that. You're on the sidelines. You see people like, oh, it's good or it's no good because we all do that at home a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right. I wonder if Mark Andrews saw you out of the corner of his eye. Just
I don't know.
Who's this guy with the headset on? I don't need you in this moment right now, buddy. Where does I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about moments? Again, there's a lot of different ways to frame this conversation about the stadium and these these games. You're talking about moments, and moments are different than best games ever, which we covered earlier. I mentioned the Naheem Hines touchdown,
Yes.
the kickoff return, the opening kickoff, and then he did it again to open the second half, which was also incredible, but not as incredible as the opening kickoff of that game. First time back on the field after DeMar Hamlin. That is a scene that I still get emotional thinking about.
Yeah, and when things like that happen, now you're in the moment of, it's not the play itself, it's the reaction. And a lot of my job on the sidelines is to get that reaction. I'm watching players, I'm watching coaches, I'm watching interactions with people. And when I turned and saw the emotion there, then the emotion starts pouring out in everybody, right? You see everybody. It kind of becomes contagious in that moment. And then you look at the fans and you see it. And boy, it was amazing. I will tell you, as much as we talked to circle back to the very first thing you asked about the best moments, and I said I was in this stadium for 51-3, it was a party. The night of the perfect game, to be in this stadium and watch so many fans be so fulfilled, I get choked up thinking about it. Like, to watch so many fans behind me, in front of me, beside me, have that moment, it still resonates with me forever.
Yeah, that is good. You know, the morning after that game, I went with Jeremy White from our morning show out to the camper lot to help him pack up, because he and his wife Mal, they have a camper, and so they're a part of that scene out there in the camper lot tailgating. And I went with him that it was a Sunday morning, because that game was Saturday night, right? So the Sunday morning to go help him pack up the camper and get it out of there. And like all around, you know, it's a parking lot where there had been, you know, massive parties going on before, and I'm sure probably after the way that game went, right? I still have the photo somewhere. I'm sure. I know I didn't delete it. My phone might have lost it somehow, because whatever, things get fishy with my phone sometimes. But I think everyone has this problem to some extent. There was a discarded, like a Patriots coffee mug lying in a puddle. Right around Jeremy's, right around the trailer, right around the camper site.
Yeah.
And like it was a bright sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. This Sunday morning, we went out there to do this, and the shadows and it was such a. I'm like, this is perfect. Look at this thing. So that was that.
I know, yeah.
That game was quite a ride.
It's just it was kind of just appropriate, right, for the moment to see something like that.
All right, Sal, we know you got to get down to the field, so we'll let you go here, wrap up this segment, and thanks a lot for jumping in here. And I know we'll talk, you know,